I think one of the biggest drawbacks of the modern world that causes a lot of our modern suffering is the fact that we're exposed to so many groups of people. Billions of people are all interconnected in a spider's web of what we call modern technology. And if we're honest with ourselves, I don't think our ancestors or ourselves are really built for that kind of exposure. If you went on the assumption that before big civilizations, most of our ancestors would have been in settlements and tribes of probably no more than about 200 people, and everyone within the community would have played a part. And we wonder why we're mortally miserable, and that the sicknesses of these kind of mental illnesses that manifest is really the fact that we are overloaded socially. Now, not genuine social interactions, because it's not in the flesh. A lot of these interactions come as like a fly on the wall or an observer. So we're dialing in and observing other people's lives. And we know the fugazi of social media, how anyone can pretend to be happy and pretend to be anything. And with that comes this sense that we're not doing enough, we are not enough, and that really, in comparison, we're nothing. It's positives and it has its negatives. The positives to it being that we have the access to information that's suppressed, connectivity to people all over the world, which for some people is very, very beneficial because they do make genuine connections and it does actually improve their quality of life. But for others that are trapped in this kind of just observational state, where most of their time online is spent sort of like observing fly on the wall style to other people's lives, it actually makes the quality of life worse. So many people out there, someone that's better looking, someone that's got more opportunities, and you're viewing their life from that standpoint, oh, look how happy they are and look how miserable I am. It's very disempowering. And we've got to this stage where regardless whether it's entertainment or infotainment, we're in this kind of cycle and this feedback loop where people are dialed into this and they don't really have much connection to the outside world. And what I mean by that, that could mean their community in which they live. That could simply just mean going out in fucking nature, living in concrete jungles or living in their own kind of four walls and fermenting. This is a kind of a symptom of this modern world. And if you look at successful people, they keep very, very small circles. They keep and protect the doors to the temple being your own mind. They're very mindful about who they spend time around, and their circles are very tight and very, very small. Doesn't mean their networks are, but it means what they're going to allow into their life and the viewing point is very, very small in comparison. Now, if you take the average person, they're so dialed in to what's going on around the world and all these different types of people that there's no reason for them to be happy and satisfied with themselves. There's no reason for them to be empowered. There's no reason for them to feel enough, because there's always someone else that you will find on this planet of about 7 billion people that's got it better than you, that's having a better life. And go one further, when you hear them stories of people that live in these small towns, because of course small communities of people live together, but oftentimes people that live in that feel desperately trapped and enclosed because they feel the opposite. They're like, just a small town girl living in a lonely world, wants to take the midnight train, wants to go into the city, wants to make the dream happen, wants to be famous, wants to be adored, and they'll leave the small city that they live in, leave the small town they live in and want to head to the city in order to improve the quality of their life. Those people get to the city and either they're rudely awakened by the city life and their dreams all fall apart. And that's how you've got actors and actresses probably in Hollywood who have got these dreams of being on the silver screen but are just serving up fucking burgers and waitressing and being a waiter for most of their career. That's how you get actresses that go into Hollywood and rather than be the next leading supporting lady in the role, they end up becoming a porn star. They find out either the city life is for them or they realise it's not. And on the flip side, there's a lot of people that live in cities, in these big communities where there's thousands of people. They actually long for escaping the city and moving kind of into these smaller communities, whether that's for safety, whether that's for the community. But in essence, we always want what someone else has got. And the internet and access to all these informations makes this egoic comparative complex absolutely rife. If you would have thought back to the olden days, there would have been an alehouse or a beer hall or something along those lines. And if you go back further than that, there would have been an alehouse and a whorehouse, or it was all referred to as like beering and whoring. Drown their sorrows over a pint and be around the sacred feminine as they rub their shoulders and pat them on the back and help them get through the suffering that comes with that ancient way of living. But it was never an honourable thing to be in the whorehouse or whoring and beering. It was kind of the opposite. But nowadays we've made it honourable. Like, look how empowered that person is for selling pictures of their butthole online for about $6 a month. We've given agency and we've given kind of credibility to something that's the opposite of what's credible, the opposite of what's honourable. Nowadays, we've kept the alehouses, we've kept the beer halls, we've kept the idea that we go out on a Friday or Saturday to these places to grab a beverage, an alcoholic beverage. But now we've moved the whorehouses online. Would have been the Giga Chad in your ancient civilization. He would have been someone that you would have respected and known personally. He would have been the warrior caste in that community. And rather than having this weird cucky relationship to it where you watch him from afar, you would have been honoured to share that space with him. But nowadays, you click a button on your phone, you load it up and go, oh, look what that guy's doing. Look at him living his best life. I'm miserable. Because everything is a double-edged sword. People thousands of years ago would have had their tongue cut out for speaking against the common or the dominant kind of hierarchy at that time, whether that's a religious kind of order, whether that's a chieftain, whether that's kind of like the kings and the queens. But it never went great for people if you just openly spoke your opinion. You know, there was no keyboard warriors back in the days when they would cut your tongue out for speaking out of turn. So why do you think we're given these tools? These tools aren't given to us like, oh, hey, you know, this would be really good for you. Everything is a double-edged sword when it's given to you like that. And as the saying goes, the devil is in the detail. So on one side is the access to information, access to the connectedness on some part, but the opposite end of that is pure atomization, pure isolation, that comparative complex, and the fact that once you get so many people with access to their opinions, their idiosyncrasies, their buying habits, that's how you make artificial intelligence. So we were given the internet in essence so we could be mass programmed as well as mass profiled. So if you are someone that's struggling to take real world action, really need to monitor how much you're allowing and not guarding the temple. Because if you're not guarding your kingdom and you're not guarding your temple, you're going to get intruders, you're going to get a sense that the kingdom is falling apart.